To start with the AEO, GEO, and so many other names or abbreviations for this, first of all, a short story. You all know the story, how it goes. Probably some of you have seen these titles in your childhood or maybe recently watching Star Wars. But we're not about Star Wars, it's about how the marketing is changing after 20 years hunting for the links, clicks, CPCs, CPMs, all of the conversion tracking that you had to do, and you had to optimize how you spend money. So the thing is that you're not anymore in control. How do you spend money efficiently? And the reason for this is, of course, AI. So the quick question for you, how do you start now search after we switched to ChatGPTs, Geminis, and other era? Please scan the QR code. If it's not working, you can just open slido.com and enter this code. But I'm very interested and curious, and hopefully you too, what has changed? And then I share another insights that I recently ran 2 weeks ago with international MBA students. Okay, 62 people voted, 64. And I'm just sending also my reply. So, for most in this room, as you can see, you're still starting in Google search. 50%, 51%, this live results, so they will be updating. ChatGPT is the second one. Then we have Perplexity, Gemini, Cloud Code, and some other are having 0. Very, very interesting. So I didn't ask what is the average age for this room also, because this influences a bit how do we search and how do we look after information. So with MBA students whose average age was 25, coming from all possible countries, 28 people in the room, only one person answered that they search with Google search. Everyone else started with ChatGPT or Gemini. So the shift is here, it's changing. The question is, how do we control the brand reputation? Because now you just handled it to AI and you don't have enough influence on how to steer what AI says about your brand or services or products of the brand. So we say that your brand didn't improve your reputation in AI because there is no approval process. How can you approve communication strategy while people chat in conversations? Some data we were running with 270 plus brands, big research study to understand that actually more than 1/3 of them are never mentioned in AI. More than half of them are misunderstood. So when you chat and you get information, this is not the information, so hallucination is happening. More than 2/3 are uncitable, meaning that you don't have the source information, but you have the information itself. So you chat, you get the information, but there is no link to click or to get it. And then 14% is agreement, meaning there is no agreement between models. If you ask the same question in one model or another model or another model, there will be no overlay, or the overlay is so small as 14% between those. And of course, the question is how to get your story right. This is a very relevant question, which we see in this room. So many people came to get to know a bit more. What AI already knows about every brand or company, this is actually very good study that we did about content that AI consumes to make the image about every brand or company. So more than 2/3 of the control you already have in your hands, meaning that AI memory or LLMs, I will simplify a bit because I'll not get too deep into technical. I can do this, but the audience is more marketing and less technical probably. So when AI learns about the brand, the first source is website and the content that you publish. This is something that is a very important finding, because now it's not important as much to get all the citations from multiple websites, building the link farms, and create the classical SEO strategy. Even it is still important, I'll share it a bit later. Second one is financial disclosures, and this is a very interesting finding. So companies which are publicly listed are having advantage in terms of AI visibility versus companies which are privately held, just because private companies, they just do not share as much data as they could. Even there is probably no harm to share the same data that is published in ARI register or in other business reports, financial data reports that in multiple countries are open and free, and you can even integrate with them via APIs. Companies still hide those from their corporate websites. Third source, trade and industry press. So I think there will be a renaissance of very high qualitative press from the trade unions or from marketing associations or from everyone else who is able to publish relevant data. Not just the vibed data copy-pasted from ChatGPT or someone else, but this data should be very relevant. Major news media, also, let's say, somehow a good news that they are still valid, meaning almost 9% of major tier 1 news outlets, let's say Ari5, Postimees, or other news papers that you have here, or magazines, they are still valid, so they need to find the way how to rearrange their business model into new media reality. And this is one of the most prioritized topics when we talk to global media agencies or media leaders on the markets. They are searching for this new model to sell more efficiently and position themselves. Government and regulatory. So when governmental portals write about you, this is also, of course, a good source of information that LLMs, they have access to it, they train themselves, and it goes like this. Wikipedia in our studies was like around 1.5%, and then another review portals like G2, Trustpilot, and other portals, they are total together like 5% in this big study that we made. So your website is a #1 source of information. So my conclusion #2, that there will be a renaissance of changing the corporate websites. This is the time for marketing agencies to try build the unique value proposition and reach out to customers to try convince them that it's the right time to change or invest into their content they publish on the corporate websites, the technology that is unfortunately quite often acts as a gatekeeper for AI, didn't allowing to properly train itself. And because training is extremely costly, one training might cost from $100 to $200 million. That's why training, global training that Gemini or ChatGPT or other OpenAI companies do, it happens once per 18 months, maybe once per 2 years sometimes. So if you look, cut-off date of memory is still January 2025, meaning I believe that they are getting ready to the next one, meaning all the work that you will do now, it will also influence what will happen next. So getting from there, you probably heard or read about the zero-click reality that we are living. Almost 90% of B2B buyers now make their mind before even visiting the website, comparing with competitors, getting information about your product or service. This is already happening. Purchase decisions influenced by AI, 42%. 60% of searches end without click. This was data from the Bright SEO from last year. Hopefully we will get a bit more update this year at the Bright SEO conference, end of April, happening in UK. So the evolution that all of us are getting through, first as consumers, playing around with nice images, video generation, funny stuff, publishing, responding to emails with copy-paste ChatGPT things. So yeah, we are doing these things. It's all about not what is AEO, is it correct, or GEO, is it correct, because all of them are correct and relevant. So as you can see, AEO is just about being featured in the answer. GEO is about being recommended in the conversation, because you are optimizing the way that data is shared from the memory. And I don't know how many of you know about the Chinese room experiment, meaning if you talk in Chinese even to AI, right? AI will start responding to you in Chinese, but none of them actually know that what they're saying or what they're sharing, because AI doesn't have any knowledge about Chinese language. It just knows the characters and probability. So everything you know about AI is just math and statistics. Simplifying it like that. There is context is being built with people, through instructions, and a bit more complex systems. So there are multiple popular voices or experts now who come from both SEO world or new GEO world, or in US they say AEO world. There are many worlds now, but it's all about actually governing your brand reputation. So I'll simplify it again to communicating. Nice voices, quite different. You can follow these guys on LinkedIn. They are writing interesting stuff. Not everything that I trust to, but it's always interesting to read about it. So Ethan Smith, for example, he runs a consultancy in US and California, quite big and quite fast growing. He says that search and AI are not zero sum, because constantly the pie is getting bigger. So it's not that you will lose, it's just getting bigger so you can have a share of it. And you can still invest into SEO, and you can still invest into AI visibility. Then if you read to, for example, Rand Fishkin, also another very successful, already after several exits, entrepreneur from US, he says that traffic is a vanity metric. You should not actually think about traffic, you should think how many deals you closed while asking your customers, how did you get to us, or how did you find our service or product? And that's the only North Star metric that you should follow. If you look into Lily Ray, another veteran of SEO, she said that geo strategy might be destroying your SEO. Of course, it might be destroying if you just delete or forget about maintaining everything that you did before and just follow generating 1,000 articles with cloud comments just to publish them all over, thinking that this is GEO. So it's not. And then we can see what Agarwal actually, so the guy who first created the term GEO, he wrote about this as one of his research papers in 2023. He says that optimize content for generative engines, not search engines. So I agree fully with what he said, because generative engine uses search engine. So if you optimize just for the search engine, you optimize for the subset, you optimize for something that is underneath the platforms, engines which use search engines to fetch data, to search data, to connect the dots. And because LLMs are as lazy as human beings, meaning they want to spend less bills on energy, they want to spend as less amount of tokens as they could, they try to get the answer to your chat interfaces from their memory immediately. Because this way they are not spending more money on stitching together the answer from small patches and delivering it to you. So how we get there step by step, let's have another small survey about the problems that brands have. There are multiple problems. One of them is being invisible, another is being misunderstood, being uncitable, or hallucinating. So let's see which problems have you experienced for your companies, for your brands, or your customer brands, or maybe even about any topic that you had a chance to have a conversation with. And you can select several. Sorry for not mentioning this. And again, we have enough statistically significant number of responses here just to see what it is about. So, number one is AI doesn't mention me, meaning brands are staying invisible. 30% of you said that AI gets me wrong, AI can't point to content, or AI hallucinates about the agreement. What is the experiment or solution that we ran to understand what is actually the reality for Estonia? We picked up like 10 brands from this room just to make the experiment and run it through the system. So to understand the results, I need to explain, and this is actually the very first foundational level of understanding AI visibility, what are the metrics and how to actually measure this. Because AI visibility is not just one score. You might think that you go to one website, another website, and 150 another websites, which make you scan whatever. But to make the proper scan, you actually need around 1 hour to, at least with all the technology that we have, to make the proper model for your brand. So first thing to look, and which is actually the most popular and the easiest to do, is a brand recall. So they are just calculating usually how many times you were mentioned. So it's pure statistics, how many times you were mentioned in the response, your brand. Don't forget that brand might have different variations of how you spell the brand. In multiple languages, you add suffixes or other things at the end, like for example, Rankfor.AI or like Rankfor.AI, whatever. So many of them in Estonian, so I just tried to follow the pattern. And you need still to find this out when you track the brand. And then, of course, if you just run it one time, then you just have 14% of agreement. So you don't have any result which is valid. So you need to run it multiple times, making it statistically significant. So about message fit. So you need to understand, is actually AI knows that the language you write about yourself, your product or services, it aligns with the language which user types in the chat interface. They should be a bit more similar. If you had experience with ChatGPT, you know that ChatGPT usually tries to please you or be very in favor, talking to you, trying to give you the best possible result you want to receive just because of the question you asked. So you need to learn how to ask questions. This is another important subject to start teaching in schools. So then value understanding. So every AI model needs to somehow come to the conclusion that you are valuable. You have some value to share with the reader, with the one who has conversation, and then to understand, does it actually cost you, or AI cost less than competitor? Meaning, if competitor explained the same thing easier, more straightforward, maybe with numbers also, and AI model will spend less tokens to fetch this information, of course they will go after this kind of response. So final one is content structure, which is happily something that stays from SEO also world. So how well your content is structured, is it properly described, is the technology correct behind this? But something changed here. So semantic web, I don't know how many of you heard about semantic web as a definition or concept. It was already there 20 years ago. I was doing PhD in semantic web 15 years ago, but the technology and the infrastructure wasn't ready to run this kind of things. They are just ready now. So we are doing the semantic web thing also with the approach to AI visibility. So if you look into the results and the leaderboard, you can see that some companies are performing quite well in value understanding or even in content structure. Maximum is 100. No one ever got like 100. And usually because LLMs are non-deterministic, so it's hard to get 100. This is always changing. But with statistical approach, we can see that at least one company made with brand recall and several are doing something that raises the score for them. So what is your guess? Who can be like number one in Estonian, at least in this probe? Okay, let me click. So you can see that in this study, Pipedrive won, and it doesn't mean that there are no better companies, because they were just not a part of the study. The study was 10 companies selected out of 100 here from the room, and we have just 10% of probe. But what is interesting, or what are the learnings for the Estonian market? So let me show you a bit about this. Invisible majority This is something that we can say about these brands, that one brand takes it most, and then of course there are more local brands like CV Keskus or Ehitus and others. But you can see that 40% of companies had brand recall 0. So they were mentioned 0 times while asking relevant question about the industry. And the content is not the problem. So the content quality is something that we somehow learned from probably previous times of PR, communication, marketing, SEO. But the brand recall is the problem. So AI can read the content and even can like this content if we talk about liking, because AI cannot like anything, but mathematically it can. So it just doesn't know that you exist. So what is another interesting with the, for example, Ehitus, that they had the highest quality content in the entire group, and AI understands the messaging. If you run through all the content assets that they publish, you can see that it is relevant, it is connecting, it's clicking, and then the problem is with the brand recall. So where problem with brand recall comes from? Misalignment between the audience, meaning audience which AI thinks you are communicating to, is just a different audience a bit than you modeled it. Show it a bit later. And then there are ghost brands. If there is a ghost brand, meaning it's literally never mentioned, so for AI it's just like a ghost, and it doesn't exist in the AI conversation. I started sharing about who AI is talking to, so personas. It was amazing to learn that in these companies, the persona or the archetype, ICP, ideal consumer profile, if you work in marketing, you probably work with personas, with ideal consumer profiles, handgejucht, procurement. For 6 companies, this is actually the most important persona to sell service to. So if in AI conversations, someone from procurement starts chatting and wants to buy construction materials for their construction on site happening or building, or they want to consult to someone else on printing, or maybe on wood or something else, meaning that the same persona is being shared between multiple companies. And because Estonia is quite small, probably even these people might be the same, dealing just with multiple topics. First they want to buy paint, another one would like to buy wood, another one are figuring out on appraisal for increase in the salary or something else, and this could be all the same person in procurement, sitting and being in between. Marketing director for 3 companies, and others are more relevant to the industries. So what AI does, AI tries to fit the content that it finds out both in the memory and on your website to the one who has conversation with. So how to actually align your messaging to buying personas in AI, this is extremely interesting and challenging topic. Another finding, because in Estonia you have quite a lot of Russian-speaking citizens, it's actually the blind spot in the study. So I don't know if it's like intentional or not, it's not about this, it's about that you are actually cutting off the chance to reach 25% of people having conversation in AI about the subjects which are sellable by your company's products, services. And remember that for AI, language doesn't matter at all. It can be whatever it is, so it can take information in Estonian and reply to someone in Russian who has conversation, and then point to the website back with a cited source, and you can click go and buy then the service from you. Generated personas or AI-generated personas. So we usually work with AI the way that combining the knowledge about your brand, combining the knowledge about the audience, and then making AI model ideal customer profiles. So every 4th was actually ignored. So who does best with covering personas in this experiment? You can see 3 companies, Ehitus, Autobassadon, and Baltic Agro. They actually did a quite good job with the probably content and availability of the content in multiple languages also, but also making AI understand their audience. So that's a very good step to make you visible. If to conclude what AI actually tells us from this experiment, we have 4 outcomes. AI never mentions you for the ghost brands. What you can do as a priority then, you should get discovered. How you can get discovered, you should start creating educational content. And the educational content is a very common thing between all of those. If you have low coverage, you want to match your persona's needs. So you can do the typical focus group, you can try to discover your persona's needs, their profiles, what do they search for, which topics they're interested in, and again, create content for each buying persona that you have. So nothing very special. We had it 20 years ago, we had it 50 years ago, we had it 100 years ago. It's marketing. Great content, low recall. It's about building authority signals. So industry publications, academia, government, some niche magazines on the topic. This is something that you should use, and this is where you can go to media, to proper media, to find out how to place yourself properly there and build backlinks from this media. So when Aripaev, for example, mentions you, this is a good signal for Estonian market. This is what we already know. This is good for Aripaev business too, right? It's just about demand and supply and then negotiation pricing, but you know how to do it. So we found out that for if you're doing great or if you're still starting building foundations in AI visibility, most of AI queries that people type are informational. People are looking for information. Only after then, they can say, okay, compare this and that. And this is about the value that you deliver. Before I move on, maybe questions, discussion, whatever. So it's fine to interrupt. It's fine to ask.
So essentially we have 3 languages here, Estonian, English and Russian. So does it matter in what language the person asks a question? So the results will be different for each question, or for each language?
It matters. And I'll show the study later about the language.
It matters a lot. Yeah?
It matters a lot.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, 2 more.
I have a question. There was lots of lots of companies brand recalls were really slow or really low. What are the, I don't know, 1 or 2 main things? Is it that the content part, or what are the main things to do to improve it?
It's about how you structure and how you write the content for buying personas. And because you might have 10 or 15 buying personas, you actually need to write for all of them 15. And that's one of the reasons why we created Rankfor.AI also.
What about social media content? You mentioned the websites and classical media. What about social media? It depends. LinkedIn, let's say.
It depends on the language. The study we made, actually, social media was different factor for English, for Finnish, for Swedish, for German, so it all depends on the language. So for different languages, different factor influences of social media. For example, in Estonia, a very important influence, it has all the reviews that you have, or the platforms that allow to publish the reviews, opinions about product or opinions about doctors that you have here, or you share this information on open groups in Facebook. You can treat them that these are reviews. So when people are reviewing something for models, it's very important in Estonia, for example. But not as important, for example, as in other languages. So we made studies on Nordic languages and English and German, so I'll show it a bit later. Yeah.
So what about creating content for LinkedIn, let's say? We are more active on LinkedIn than we are on our webpage.
The content is gated. It's not easy to access the content. Like if you even try, hey, fetch this data from LinkedIn, usually you will get in ChatGPT information that, sorry, I'm not able to fetch this from LinkedIn.
But we also have paywalls.
And you have paywalls, which affect a lot. So gated content affect a lot how AI can access it. Of course, it cannot because it's gated, unless it's stupidly gated, meaning that you can ungate it easily. But usually it's not. So, yeah.
It's not quite technical question, but maybe I can comment. It's just because it happens quite often. we assume that companies want to be visible. I mean, but it's not always the case. Some info content is public, but it is copyrighted. So is it like a result of how or not? Because I know technically Cloudflare is used sometimes to blog, but it's technical. But this legal aspect, how much it affects reality, say?
You know, there's legal cases where content was literally scraped and people were asked to provide content to AI. People were hired in Africa or somewhere else just to feed the memory. So unless they have their own agreements, like the Wall Street Journal, I think, or Times, or they follow those. So they exclude them unless you have the agreement. But you need to win the case, usually, with these big players. So if it's copyrighted, like AI doesn't know that it's copyrighted. You need to give a specific instruction to know that this is copyrighted and then exclude it. And it's up on models. So what models decide, it's up to them. Is it copyrighted or not? Yeah, of course, you can put. And then what happens? C is just a character in the ASCII, in table, in memory. It's like, means nothing. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know the, like details about how it influences. We haven't been running any studies on this, but very interesting questions. I learned a lot already from this. And there was one more here.
Yeah, look. I'm jumping back to the topic we just discussed regarding the ICPs, the content or the ICPs. I mean, maybe it's a practical question, and maybe I'm stealing your business that you will over after. But my question regarding the content being, does it have to be public on the website, or it can be searchable for only for LLMs behind the scenes, let's say? Because it doesn't make sense to create similar content for put content heavy at the website, which is also
yeah, you are very to the point. So I will not comment this. I will just follow the presentation. So language, that the question was about the language. The Bolt case we made, not our customer, just made the case. You can see that Bolt in Estonian is very positive. So you're very proud of Bolt, and probably a lot of positive press is about Bolt here. I understand it totally. Bolt in English, it has a negative sentiment in this study that we made. And why mentioning complaints, pricing issues, competition with Uber? Because it's English, and they are competing on the mass market, and they're competing with giants, with big players. And then another thing that influence, so in Estonian, usually the answers are shorter, because the language is also kind of more shorter or narrative, let's say, da 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 da, and then you receive the answer. So when you compare the length of responses in Estonian or Finnish to English or German, those languages, Ugro-Finnish, are a bit shorter, just. You can say it from, I was amazed when I came here to Estonia. I've seen everywhere 4-letter words. This is something that was like, I see everywhere 4-letter words, and they all mean something. Usually having double vowels inside or double consonants somewhere. You can see like tool, toom, kir, bold, all of them, like they go like this, right? 4 letters. So it influences also the way that you train the model. Like it's good actually, because less tokens are spent, right? But from the study, half of brands get completely different tone when you just use a different language. And this is because, again, ICPs are influenced, or a model is influenced by this.
I would ask,
yeah.
What happens that I often do is, for example, I work with several languages, and sometimes I'm in the middle of something in English, and I want to get something from ChatGPT in Estonian. So I ask in English and write him answer in Estonian. So what happens then? Like, what model does he use in that case? Or I ask in Russian and say answer in English.
Mm-hmm. So technically you can check how does it translate. So it depends. It very depends on the topic that you are having discussion about. And then what is in memory. So if in memory, for example, you are asking in Estonian about the best taxi hailing company, let's put it this way. And several years ago, you had more here. Like you could choose between, like now you also can choose, like there is photos, there is bold, you can use something else. And then if in memory, there is already the query somehow from all the previous conversations happened and all the memory that they have, which is in English, it will just substitute it to the English, then receive back the result translated to you in your language.
But what activates the model? When I ask a question in English, then the English model is activated, or when I ask him to switch to Estonian, he switches to the Estonian lingo. Like
You are the one who activates it. By exactly providing instruction. Because large language models, they are generative engines, meaning they generate response to you, predicting next and next character, but receiving first the instruction. So if you give the instruction, then it somehow launches the whole chain of thought, and you will receive the outcome according to instruction.
But if I ask the same question on 1 day and then in a month, will the response be is it like different all the time, or is it like
non-deterministic? So sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's different.
And you do not know why.
Because of math and probability, but the world is constantly changing. So when people switch to search mode, meaning you are specifically asking, search me this or that, and then the model starts searching, fetching data, right, for you. And this is a costly procedure. It costs them money. And if something changed in surrounding through the month, so a competitor came in and published some very good study comparing all the options on the market, providing all the prices, it might be fetched because, and then Big Brother Google or OpenAI, and they dislike themselves, right? So they very much dislike themselves. You cannot use OpenAI model through Google Cloud AI tools. It's just excluded. But it is included in Amazon, for example, right? And then Amazon experiments and Shopify experiments. In US, they experiment a lot how to make people buy, convert, even read ads in chat. And OpenAI does it. Even the guy Sam said 5 years ago that he will not do this. You don't trust those statements, right? After 5 years of not seeing enough money in the revenue of the company. So ads will come, for sure.
But it's like a wild jungle. You cannot be sure anything. It's just like every day. It's just.
Yeah. It's pretty the same with banking, insurance, everything. You cannot be sure about will there be next crisis in banking, or will you receive your pension fund, like when you are retired. Who knows what will be the economy? But this is all stats and math. Again, probability, stats, math, data. So the only way to conquer the beast is to use the same tools against the beast it's built. That's my approach to this. So what you can do today, or what actions you can take today seeing this or listening to this. The thing that we built, it's the very first in the world AI outbound marketing loop, where you install the pixel, the analytics. Probably most of you know what is Google Analytics or what is a piece of JavaScript code. Then with us, you can create the content box, which is a box packed with multiple content optimized for ICPs. It's being published in a way that AI bots are accessing this one. And at the same time, the content, which is machine-readable content, not for the human beings, can be connected with a simple URL to the content that you publish for human beings on your website. When human beings chat in conversations, they receive stitched responses from ChatGPT or Gemini or any other model with the source links. And these source links are pointing then to your website or to the website of your customer. And then the whole magic happens. You can distinguish how many AI bots were visiting your content or reading it, and how many human beings were interacting with this one. So the feedback loop, or the outbound marketing loop, which is a proper name for this, is a content flow which flows thanks to your decision and action, which content to publish to which ICP, thanks to the infrastructure, and then feeding the AI. So I got a question, very good one. It depends on how popular are the topics generally in society. It's not about AI model training itself on this new content thing. Because if a human being opens the conversation and has a relevant question to ask in their local language, then model needs to fetch it from somewhere, if it's not there in the memory. And where it can fetch it from? From the resources that are accessible, available, easy to consume, digestible, will spend as least tokens as possible to prepare the answer and to give this answer. So if the topic is very hot, it can be weeks. If the topic is not popular, it might be never, because no one asks about something. And this is the rule of thumb for any business, without AI or with AI. So if you run the business and you offer something to the market which is in demand, then of course there will be inquiries about it and you will be selling. But if you go with something and offer which has no demand at all, your business will just get bankrupt, and that's it. So it's very, very aligned with the rules of running your typical business on the capitalist markets, let's put it this way, because if it's in the regime, no rules apply. Like, we are not testing anything with Asia, Africa, now South America, no experiments there. We work with European companies now, and it also has a specific reason because of GDPR law and the way that European Union came up with AI Act. It's a very important act that I'm really proud that Europeans have now, which is not there in US. So in US you can do whatever. And people, I understand that for US entrepreneurs, customers are not that, like, they are important only because they deliver capital all the time. Right? But all the privacy issues, data governance issues, so this is the reason why we chosen, okay, we need to conquer first European markets. So how we do it, we start with a scan of your brand website, which is the most important asset that you own or your customer owns. We run the diagnose like we did with those companies, trying to build the knowledge about the whole brand, their visibility, ICPs they target, then optimize it with the content, and then start tracking. And already now we have a lot of free material and tools on open.rank4.ai, where you can check some of those tools which are a bit, let's say, more community or simplified versions, but still giving value. At the same time, you can do it manually, because we are not like in any God mode or whatever. We just automated all the knowledge and things that we knew about the subject matter. So you can do it manually, check your brand, run 10 times every day, for example, the same question in your language, asking about your customer business, any challenge you would like to solve, and then start noting, are you in the answer, is your customer in the answer? We call this dice roller methodology. It's again based on the statistics and math, and then a bit of infra and analysis of information theory. So whoever studied statistics knows probably Shannon, entropy, Euclidean, and all of those things. You can do it manually, of course, or you can go and see how your visibility works. So because we were here invited also by Tallinn Business Incubator, we're happy to give the first scan also for the companies which are in Tallinn Business Incubator, or whoever will then register and scan the code, which I will show in a bit. So just to show how the typical dice roller result look like, for example, like one of the prompts for the pipe drive asked, even with a mistake, I see where is written, it's a strange way, the best price features for CRM solutions. Someone is looking for just CRM and they're looking for the best price. Their business is like 4 million a year. And you can see that there is a tough competition between Salesforce, Pipedrive, Fresh Sales, Monday CRM. And then HubSpot is a bit losing, and then there are others. So that's a marketing tool or pre-sales tool you can use to support your customers, doing research or trying to understand what is their positioning with the dice roller. Another thing you can do with the dice roller is make competitive intelligence, of course. So you can ask about competitors, you can run it several times, and then which competitor is always in the mention, which competitor is sometimes mentioned, which competitor is never mentioned. Or you can do another thing with dice roller. You can check how different responses are in OpenAI or in Gemini and what is in common between those. So all these things you can do manually. You can just try doing these experiments at home or at work. And then all the studies or all of the conclusions that we come to, they are research-based. So one thing that we do differently than most on the market is that we just run research. And then we send this research to Elsevier, Springer, or other publishers to get it reviewed, then to get it published. We also publish research on our open Rankfor.AI resources that you can dive deeper and see. And our research foundation is now more than 1.1 million buying personas. So this is something that no one has on the market yet this way. And of course, Google has a lot, right? So, but they are not building AI visibility platform. So that's also a good thing. Bing recently, so Microsoft launched, I think, AI performance visibility in their webmaster tools, but it just does the value what it does, so you can check it yourself. So one of the examples of this study is the source type distribution by query language. So the questions that you asked. If someone starts conversation in Estonian, for example, it happens that it's important to have academic mentions, publishing, your academia, whatever. So academic sources are important for Estonian language because model trained and learned about Estonia and Estonian language through open resources of academia that you have in Estonia. If you look into governmental sources, English is very important. So when UK, US, or other governmental agencies or EU agencies write about you or your business in English, then it's a very valid source for AI to use it or train it later. If you look into industry reports, they are almost equally important in every language, a bit less in Finnish. If you look into social media, you have the response that Estonian social media lives its life. It's very vibrant. You can check the Facebook groups, and I was amazed how many people, I think that 1/2 of Estonia is just on Facebook using groups and doing everything there. Discussing mushrooms, exchanging stuff. I'm the participant of this mushroom group in Estonian. That's how I learn a bit about Estonia also. Very interesting mushrooms you can find now in Pirita forest. They're like white with red inside. They have a special name for this. I was also amazed, not to mention now, but some people eat it also. And then you can see this tier 1 news. So Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Nordic countries, media rules. If you watched this popular Forbrydelsen series of Danish TV series about killing or something else, the killing is the translation. It's happened all around media, and then you watch these Norwegian, Icelandic, or Swedish, Finnish movies, and then a lot of media is involved. Always some kind of a conflict, or maybe they do something there, right? When you go to English, okay, like it's a bit of it, tier 1 use. For Wikipedia, for Estonia, it's not as important at all, as you can see, probably not that popular. Yeah, so one of the examples of the studies. And then you need to know it all to know how to help your brands be more visible in this or that or another language. So if you have multinational countries, customers from different countries using different languages, and Baltics is quite challenging, I would say, how to manage it all. So It's not easy to win, for example, the customer probably from being an Estonian agency to win a customer for all the Baltics, unless you have Baltic divisions in every country, and then you can serve, and then you have some kind of an expert knowledge. So my conclusion is it's not possible without you. People are very much needed, and they will be still needed in the marketing, in communication, in media. The question comes,
Yeah, that was the question. Does the source type distribution change over time in the article?
it changes. It changes. It will change after the next training you do. So you can run the study in the memory mode, or you can run the study with including search mode. You can do multiple studies, but then when the new training results will come, the study needs to be repeated, probably on the same questions, on the same groups, on the same brands, and then you can compare. So it's extremely interesting subject for any researcher or whoever is doing now master's, PhD, or whatever in Turundus, marketing, communication, whatever. Amazing question. One of the first things that we thought about, and this is one of our impact metrics, because when we were searching for the capital last year, we wanted to have an impact fund, which is also caring about impact metrics. One of the impact metrics is that we support small and media entrepreneurs as the result of the whole thing that we built. And for example, if you are a local business, this is extremely important if you're a local business, because if you want to be global and if you want to win on the global market, that's tough. But if you are a local business and you, for example, run, I don't know, accounting company in Estonia, a lot of competition. You have a bit of companies to select between those. Or you run pizzeria in Tallinn. Huge competition. Like you can buy pizzas from multiple places. And then if you want to win on the local market, you know that your ICPs, usually when they open ChatGPT or Gemini, then ask best pizza in Pirita, for example. And this is the thing which you can win. With your content, which is crafted for ICPs that you have in the local language, on the local market, because anyway, if it is not in the memory of a model, then it will be fetched. And where it can fetch it from? You can try running those local prompts or queries, and then see how it works. So we are here also to automate this and support this for smaller businesses, also for local business. Because currently, yes, it's true, like enterprises, big companies, marketing agencies, they are looking into this very, very, very much. They have budgets and they have need.
With the search engines, we had the capability to analyze like the heat map of some keywords. We then had a chance with AI as well to understand how much people are searching for certain topics.
Straightforward answer is no, you don't, in an easy way. Meaning OpenAI or Google would need to create an API for this to start sharing this. What is good and what is coming, Google Trends, they are testing their alpha API version. And because we are also part of Google AI program, keeping all data in Finnish resources, also important to us, Finnish or Western European Sweden. They have opportunity to start sharing trends with external companies, not just opening Google Trend and searching on your own something. That's one thing. Another thing is if you have Google Search Console, there are, of course, comments and tricks to get the knowledge out of it. We are integrating this data also to Rankfor.AI, meaning enriching the engine with the popularity of the queries, phrases, words, so that building own intelligence. One very important foundational decisions that we made is we don't want to be dependent 100% on token economy. Because token economy is constantly on inflation, pricing on electricity and the pricing of tokens goes up, packages go down. If someone of you know startups, unicorns like Clay, for example, .com, so they already changed their pricing packages because of token economy. So you can easily say who is very dependent on tokens, and you need to buy these tokens from OpenAI or Google or from someone else. Then you're pretty putting your business on full dependency on the oligarchs of this world, keeping all the data in quite authoritarian way. Try to export, for example, all the data that you generated in Google or in other platforms from the moment that you start using it till now. How you can do it? There is no obvious way to ask Google, hey Google, I as a person interacted with you for 20 years. I want all of the data signals that you collected from my usage, all of them. So that's very important. Okay, we still have enough time to dive into details. Yeah, so a bit about the team. So the background behind the company, decision to make company no bigger than the soccer team, the football team. That's also an important decision. How can we run faster and on less capital? All of us, we are with a lot of understanding from big enterprises and from entrepreneurship and from research. So my co-founder, Marzena, she's ex-head of communication in global Amazon, head of UK PR. Before, in Switzerland based, Petri is responsible for Nordics. He's ex-head of R&D in Nokia and Accenture. Ola is ex-Google, ex-TikTok, ByteDance. Alexander saved once Finnish stock exchange from catastrophe also and knows how to run the infrastructure systems. In the room we have also Daniel supporting me here today and more beautiful minds who are eager to change how the world treats data governance and brand reputation. Because we are not talking about AI visibility, we are talking about brand reputation management. And it's not always about being mentioned. There are multiple companies that don't want to be mentioned at all. Or they cannot be mentioned because of regulations. And managing the visibility is not increasing or boosting it. It's also making decisions what should be visible. So the governance thing is very important. So you can register for AI visibility scan. You can do for one brand with us. There will be a form you will need to fill. It's quite short form. If something will not work, let us know. But because of a lot of interest on the subject, last week we had a problem with servers also. And we had to deal with this ones, so it might happen, but hopefully we will get back quite fast with the results for you and your business. You can take a picture also of this, just to make sure that you can do it calmly in a more convenient setup. And we will use the opportunity also, with the help of Sandra probably, to send the follow-up material and the link to everything for you. So let me move on. I mentioned before the impact KPI. So the one and the most important impact KPI that we have in our company is to educate 1 million marketers in the world with the help of workshop seminars like this or free education materials and courses like this. We want to help people communicate better about their customers and brands and their companies, painlessly making this shift to this AI world. The topics that we were covering here, and there is still a bit left, they are actually the Model 1 AI visibility fundamentals that you might complete like after already this workshop. Second one will be about visibility audit basics, so also to teach how you can do this properly in a data-driven way, research-driven way, providing value to your customers. All the certification for marketers will be free. That is also another claim that we have as a mission-oriented company. For marketing agencies who would like to partner with us and certify themselves, we have a partnership program for marketing agencies that we are happy to discuss also later. I will right now jump into showing some of the things with the platform in a live mode. It's usually pretty tricky, and I'm quite sweating and stressed when I am to click something on the public with 100 people here and it's also recorded, so I don't know how it will go, but let me try also. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm still living in Tallinn. I probably will not change anything in the next couple of years, so we can also see each other locally or at other events. Okay. Let me switch to the platform if you are happy to stay a bit and see how we do this stuff. Okay. So I'll go with Pipedrive probably because it's not hurts to see their profile. They are also not our customers, so we are fine to do some things with them. So first of all, you might notice that there are different modes when you work with AI and visibility. And the results, okay, they have the same because here it's actually the same, but if you choose quickly someone else, the results are different in different models. What is also interesting to understand that the DNA, so how brand is being seen by AI, is actually not an easy thing to decompose. We had to reverse engineer for these two models that we currently support, so OpenAI and Gemini, how they are building the connections between information. So connections are different for different models. In 3D mode, you actually can see all the proteins, as we call them, in our DNA. Pipedrive has it quite well, so they are not far away from each other. Some companies have very spread information, which makes it just to drive a bit longer by AI model to get it through. So you should envision it as a road or lane that AI needs to follow. For example, for OpenAI, some information is a bit more far away from another information, so if AI has to go through the way, it will need to spend a bit more fuel to get there. Every information is aggregated in topics or territories, as we call them, and they are aggregated language-wise. They're being built from different URLs. And if you don't do it correctly on the website structurally, then model will mix languages in one territories, and it will be a bit harder to find information also in the language. So it then might start hallucinating. Sales CRM, for example, is one of the example clusters coming just from their main page. So for the model, it's very easy to get information about sales CRM, email marketing, pipeline management, sales automation, because it has to go just to this website, the main homepage, to fetch information. If you need to fetch information from multiple clusters and information is spread, you would need to jump into one territory, another, and another. The basic visibility score, which I showed you, actually is a bit more complex thing because it compounds from multiple parameters that are evaluated. And immediately you can see competitors which are mentioned in the surrounding of the brand. So it's quite easy to do research. It's quite easy to understand what are the players that you are playing with. And are these players for you? Or maybe you need still to change your messaging to be maybe a bit more local, start winning first market first. I know the story from Bolt, they try to win multiple markets at the same time, but the very good decision they made is just go one market after another market after another market. So for companies who are to communicate something very competitive, global-wise, it's important to choose wisely what they are writing about. And very important is this model about who is AI talking to. So there are ICPs, this one comes from AI, which model understood are the best ICPs to support with the information that Pipedrive created on their website. These are only 6, We can provide for custom packages much more. Default mode, you can start with 1, with 3, with 6. But you can see that, for example, they are communicating to this guy who tries to understand how to work with the Pipedrive and Gmails, what is security compliance in US for the Pipedrive solution. They have their goals, and then there is a long list of content gaps, which are actually the ideas for the new content, the topics that you would like to write about. You can see from the bird's eye view how different personas are performing against different territories or the information. And then you can see also what are the content gaps, the most important one for each persona and for each cluster. So idea generation for content briefs is just made much easier because these content briefs are not general vanity content briefs or coming from just vibe conversations in chats. They have all the context about the current positioning of the brand on the market. They have the context about ICPs that they would like to target, because we can also add your custom persona. If you add your custom persona, we believe that marketeers and business owners know best whom they would like to sell, unless they are just, people coming from manufacturing engineers and they have no background about customers, they will just working on the factory. But this is important that we trust that people also know a lot about their personas. You can create the story, you can create informational needs, and even choose the search behavior that you would like to support for this persona. And then the content that we provide will be aligned with those needs. Discovering multiple prompts, so you can see, you can discover multiple interesting prompts about the product or service that you offer, or you can get the content plan, which is something that this one is not launched, I see. Let's try and create something. It might take a bit. So this is something that we usually launch already pre-generated, but I'm here to try live mode. The content plan for the persona Markus Hayes, of course, these names and surnames are artificial. They're just to show the proper representation of the audience that you might target. And it's for US markets, they're also multilingual or multinational. For Estonian market, we had here mix of Estonian and Russian speaking or Russian names, for example, and then some English for some of the businesses. So it's all about how AI model decides which personas are the best for the brand. At this market, at this context, with their communication. While it's being generated, I'll go to another tool that I showed earlier, like this one, right? So you can type here whatever question. It should not be the question about the same brand. You can ask about your customers generally, or you would like to solve any issue. Whatever. And I would like to check if this is something, for example, for Kia, if it's relevant. Then I'll just run dice roller. 3 runs, so statistically not as significant to have this result. At least 5 runs, better 7, and the most requiring prompts, they need 10 runs to repeat. But what we are doing, we are connecting live, of course, and then we are processing all this data with natural language processing, doing all the vectors, embeddings, all of those things. With the OpenAI mode currently, because here I am in OpenAI mode switched on, and the results might be different in one mode or in another mode. So I've launched two things. One thing is there. Let me switch to Gemini and check what is, and just copy. Just to compare between both. And while we're running those, let's see what kind of content plans do we have. Okay, the content plans created. So you can see that the content plan that you create is usually about some primary goal that you are to support. It is about keywords and SEO, so it works both. It will boost these keywords when it will be published. And it has key messaging that you are, as a marketeer or as a business owner, to achieve with this content. When you have this, we generate content assets. Something to review, and they are built very classically. Top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel as a content. Something that you think that is interesting, for example, guide for lead management that costs your sales team millions. And we are here to equip the person with these needs. We say what kind of content sections should be, which key points to include, and what is the call to action you need to deliver, and the target length of the article that needs to be created. And then the content. It's already the draft that you can use. You can export it to PFD or Markdown, PDF or Markdown, and publish then it's on your CMS, or share it with your customer for approval, for example, or for ideation in the team. And then you can see that the whole thing is ready. It has already included data. It's not just the wiped content. So it has all the model analysis done in behind. When you have it and you like the content, you can save it to library. There are like more different items to save to the right library. When it's saved to the library, we can actually save some personas also to the library, so we have them. So you can see all the things which are previously saved here. And then from here, while we do the dice roller thing, I'll show you the approach to the content. So what we typically do, we ask people to create content. Then what we typically do, we ask people to select audience they would like to target. And then we ask people to choose information they would like to influence, or territories. And after that, we send the content to the infrastructure, which is, after that, providing you statistics about how many times the content was fetched by robots or by human beings, like here, with a distribution between bot traffic and the human conversation traffic. And you can analyze yourself which content is the most performing and which audiences were reached, what kind of ICPs were reached. This is the demo mode because they would need to complete the setup with our page, verify the domain and ownership, but after that we start serving the content in a loop. Yeah.
So the content actually always kind of sticks with you, your method. So by implementing on actual company sites or including company site.
It's up to you to decide. Do you want to implement the content which we generated on the website and then connect both worlds?
There was a good question about sort of like not sort of
this is
pushing too much info on the site.
This is exactly the case, meaning where you are creating the content plan, when you are creating the feedback loop, you can decide yourself which content here in the content box. Let's put it in the wizard. Yeah, you can set up the URL which the content will be directing to. And this could be the real one. For example, like this, right? So we would like to connect the content asset which we provided and which we deliver to AI with the real URLs. And the very significant difference between SEO and AI visibility is that you can provide multiple URLs. So you can direct customers having conversations depending on what are the customer ICPs and what is the territory that you would like to influence to different targets. You can have the same content, but it serves different audience. And while people talk to AI, procurement will talk about one thing and will get the link for pricing. And if someone else in sales will be talking exactly about the CRM, etc., the same content asset will be used, but it can direct them to case study, for example. So you can reuse then the same thing, because we would like to minimize effort for every model. You don't want to feed the model with 1,000 items. This is the biggest mistake that people think about visibility, SEO, or GEO. So yeah, let's see what is with the dice roller. Okay, dice roller. All right. Yeah, not bad for Kia, also mentioned 6 times, but Tesla got mentioned 30 times. Still, even with cheap pricing, even with multiple cases they had, and Tesla is still mentioned, so they have very strong positioning. But you can see that also networks are mentioned. They are positioning themselves through their content where people are asking what is the best car to drive from A to B. They position also themselves at the charging networks. So there are so many angles to work with AI, prompting, researching, competition, producing content that it might overwhelm. But like I had to spend doing my PhD 15 years ago in this to just get how represented is information in the data structures when robots are dealing with it. Now it's AI, so you have to decompose engine deep learning methods and to understand how it is interconnected. So I wish it was as simple as now 15 years ago, but it was not. Happily, we have experts here in the room, specialists who are marketeers and who know probably many more use cases of the technology and of the platform. So we are very happy to learn from you how you actually work with your audience, how you work with your customers. Because this is the pure gold mine to understand how to build workflows in this technology so that we will have ready workflows so that you can just use, not design it a bit more semi-manually like now, but have the whole workflow, launch it, and have the result ready. So whoever is interested in participating in being ambassador also with the Rankfor.AI, we will be happy to share even more details, work with your cases, with your customer cases, just to learn more about the real industry cases right now, real pains that you have, and the needs that your customers have. So this is also something that you should reach out if you think that you would like to work with Rankfor. Yeah?
Yeah, so quick question. I was double checking on what you can fit in there with personas and stuff. And a lot of it was kind of hands-on in EC, right? Like from a marketeer's perspective, you do a lot of B2C marketing. So
yeah,
and you kind of showcase how we position ourselves towards that angle.
We have both B2B and B2C personas. Pipedrive is just B2B case. Knowing from the research that 78% of conversations are happening in B2C world right now, you understand that this is quite a big piece of pie for us. So if we are, for example, talking to Fazer or to other companies about how to optimize their messaging to end customers, B2C customers, this is the database that we also have. So first, we built 100, we had 100 personas, then we scaled it to 500K personas, and now we have 1 million, 0.1K mil personas, where around 70% of them are B2C actually. So B2B is our latest addition, and we also have enterprise personas, which is even higher value world, around 120K enterprise personas. So just to compare and finish this example with the dice roller, it's fine to see what are dimensions, but why? Why is it so? This is the question. So to dive deeper, we know, for example, what AI always says, that you need to prioritize cars with WLTP range of 500 km or more, with fast charging capabilities, aiming for 10 to 80% charge in under 30 minutes. This is the core message, the spine message that you should then build upon your content strategy, including in every case, in every content piece, this information, bolden it out, repeating it as many times as possible, sending it to tier 1 news outlets, also citing this. Or you can go with a long tail, which are unique insights. For example, one insight appeared just once, but this insight is important. Precondition the EV battery before fast charging to achieve optimal charging speeds, especially in colder conditions. I didn't specify when I am driving. Am I driving in the summertime or maybe in the wintertime? So now you have another angle, an idea how to create the content. You need also to support this inquiry weather-wise. And then you start building your listicles or your content pieces, comparing winter conditions, autumn conditions, summer conditions, spring conditions. And what you can do more, if you are, for example, if you are positioning EQ7, for example, or even go deeper and see, okay, BMW i4 has problem, right? Mentioned once out of 3 times. And then you go, okay, maybe we can win local dealer BMW customer and boost their sales. And then you are, as a BMW i4, to include in the conversation Tesla and Kia with Ionity and other models. And you build just open data comparison. Okay, they do it this way, we do it this way. Someone else does it this way, and this is data. And you can drive with us more than 500 kilometers. So. And then you provide information for AI just in one article on a plate, serve it from the homepage, for example, and distribute it to media outlet, publish it with us, link it to this information, and just wait for the traffic. So this is a quite powerful tool because you can go even deeper and see sentiment. You can see that the sentiment is positive. In every answer, there is something positive mentioned in this query. Let's check how is it in OpenAI. In OpenAI, Kia is the winner. VW ID7 Tourer. Absolutely different positioning. And it's very specific. We also learned it from studies that Gemini is quite general. It dislikes sentiment things. It dislikes recommending you obviously something. But OpenAI, they are in this US sales mode, trying to include ads, shoppings, everything. So you can win faster if you are very precise and you can provide value. Message stability, you can see how many insights you can get. All of these are unique insights to use to decide how to improve your customer positioning. Think long tail in SEO world. And then the same core message. A bit different, charging route compatibility mentioned, enough luggage space mentioned, but still quite the same. And then you can go deeper and see that actually it also was positive, and you can understand why. And then because of this why AI thinks that you are visible or invisible, or this is a good option, you can see why it thinks. This is aggregated result data already from every response. We provide with key messages here. Sorry for not yet being as super user-friendly in some moments, but we are trying to build the airplane while flying and having not the same millions of capital like unicorn from US. So doing it absolutely differently, starting everything with ICP, with persona, with understanding the brand positioning. That's why actually when you deal with Rankfor.AI, you don't see those beautiful charts comparing prompts every day with all the positions, because this is just doing accounting. You are trying to deliver accounting which is not statistically even correct for models which are non-deterministic. So how can you measure everyday position for the prompt? You would need to repeat it 10 times for every prompt on multiple markets in this language, in this context, for these ICPs, etc., etc., etc. So we do remodeling once per month. So we scan the visibility score once per month for the company, giving you a chance to work through the months, publish content, deliver some changes to your existing website, to the machine-readable content, make you understand the personas, positioning, competitors. And then we do rescan, and then you see what is the difference after that. Besides having, of course, the feedback loop prepared with the published content boxes and content pieces alive. So, I think I ran out of topics to share, and I need something also to drink. All the answers, questions are welcomed. Answers, if you have to my questions, they are also welcomed. Yeah.
Mentioned the measure part. How, if I'm the small business owner, how do I measure the efforts in AI? So I put my money and time and effort to, I don't know, gain visibility in AI. So I don't know what KPIs should I track afterwards to see does it work?
So the one would be the click-throughs from conversation happening in AI chat to your published content on your website. The sources thing. So if the source was used to build recommendation or the answer, we measure this. We know how many times AI fetched data from the content that you published through the system. And then we show it to you, like, yes, for this question, like this data for this ICP persona was fetched this times. And if you published the content on your website and connected it with the URL, then we also know how many people clicked the source to see the real content. This is, I think, the one and the very first way to measure the AI outbound marketing. So that's this one. It's not just simple traffic, it's a click-through. And let me just finish. And the second way is, I recommend you do immediately, you create the form, or whatever form it is, or survey, and ask, how did you find us? And put a ChatGPT, Gemini, or AI conversation there, so that you know from your customers that they found you also through the conversation. And this is a direct message or KPI you can get. It should be #1 North Star metric for every company which is taking care about AI visibility of the brand. Yeah.
For visibility for AI chat and visibility for AI agent, is it like different things?
Yes, it's a different thing. If you are visible to AI agent, meaning that AI agent was able to use your content for whatever reason. And if you are visible in chat conversation for bot, right, it means that it also used and it included the link or source in the conversation happening and recommended then your company or your solution. So it's one first step is being visible to AI bot generally, and the second step is improving your visibility or steering your visibility in the conversation to happen. Yeah. One very wise decision that Cloudflare, I don't know how many of you know Cloudflare or heard about it, but the technology which is in between the website and the server. So they introduced a reduced version of information for every bot, which they translate into simple text or markdown, obscuring everything. And if it is configured together, like in the loop with them, that, okay, GDPR, cut, do not, then it should influence actually configuration of your website, like robots, sitemaps, etc. So it's up to you as an owner or up to customer to decide what is to be visible or what is not to be visible, and to make an audit on this. Like, we are just following the white practices, so we have our own Rankfor bot created to build the whole model and scan the website, etc., which is registered with Cloudflare also, so that we can access and follow the rules that you set. And then we can advise on the rules, for example, on this machine-readable content, that, okay, you want to publish these assets, we automatically provide the sitemap and robot settings, etc., so these are accessible. You want to unpublish it, you just click one button on our portal and then it unpublishes it. So it's also about governance. The email address is quite an unpopular word or chain of characters to be repeated with a probability that it will be the same. That's why when you do research, you often get those fabricated sources that AI got information from this journal or from that resource or from this Forbes website, for example, and it's fabricated because it tried to predict what is the most probable source that we'll use. So it is not helping, in my opinion, of course, for AI. Right? But if it's about visibility on LinkedIn, in social media, that's fine. You just share your address for everyone, and that's your public address then, right? If you take 20 experts from LinkedIn, what they write about LLMs.txt, you will have the normal distribution of people advising, not advising, and following and not following. Even Google doesn't have a straight answer, should it be implemented or not. But if you do it together with all the setup around, it's just the same. It's not enough just to publish one thing. It's a piece of the setup. We do generate LLMs.txt files, which are quite specifically constructed, that running experimentally, we know that it makes easier for bot to access some kind of information. Will bot reach this? This is another thing, and we have it in our system to make it reachable also. So you can name it LLMs.txt, you can name it Dear AI, please read this. If you are Gemini bot, you can name it whatever. It's just the convention of naming. What is inside is way more important, and what is around this is way more important. So yeah, no one will tell you the fully truth publicly just to boost the whole market up. You need to do both. We create content strategies on the platform to boost, for example, messaging for ICP, which interacts, for example, with the territory of sales CRM systems. So you can choose so many content strategies to create with us, which are then to be decided, only machine, or you would like to use it as a piece of website, publish on your website. I personally hate reading synthetic stuff, even being as close as hate, because dealing with vendors, even colleagues in other businesses, or with outreach marketing, people just shoot to you this blah of things coming from OpenAI, Gemini, whatever, and you scan it. After 2 sentences, you just know as a human being. We are trained, we're quick pattern learners. That's how we learn languages, that's how we learn mimicking others what to do and how to do in life. So if this is your tactic, for example, to win attention from machines, then absolutely fine, it makes no difference at all. But if it's part of your strategy to win love from your customers, then probably you will fail if you do it like this. So humanizing, of course, that's why we always advise that marketeer is the central. Protein, brain is central. You need to decide yourself which link to include, which wording to change, which case to include into content that we generated. So, yeah. Or is your customer interacting with AI that then AI used this machine content to recommend you something? And then it's fine. The name is not as important. It's just easier to follow, let's say, something that is already familiar for humans. That LLMS.txt is actually the file which helps put the structure somehow inside to make it easier to navigate through the whole setup of content. And how you name it, it's up to you. It's just, let's say, agreement between humans, like with GEO, for example. It's also agreement between humans. Let's call this thing GEO. But it's quite, let's say, misleading because only human beings who are in the bubble will understand what is GEO. Everyone else will think that this is something about geography or navigation or something else. So, yeah, just trying to make things easier. You can do both. You can do one thing, or you can even do another thing without having a real website. You need to do it well, and you need to launch the feedback loop thing, so you will learn how it changes in time and constantly, let's say, monitor and improve and change dynamically the whole setup, which is not possible with the human websites to change constantly dynamically the whole thing. It just makes no sense, but for machines you can do it. And maybe one comment to add. My personal belief is that if I were to decide, right, we would stop using websites, let's say, in 5 years already at all, because it's way more human to have experience in a conversational way. People are, like, all the websites are just a database for AI to train itself on the patterns. So if I am to buy, for example, the outfit for a wedding, I'm way more happy if I talk to human being or AI in a way that I say, hey, in 2 weeks, my friend is having a wedding. I need to find the outfit for, let's say, less than 500 euros. And what do you recommend me, etc., etc. It's like walking into the store, having conversation with someone and just, okay, let me look at you. Okay, this one would be a good one. This is your budget. Yeah, nice. Or should I go to Google or any other platform and say, outfit, 500 euros, shop, shipping in 2 days, or review Amazon, Zalando, About You, everything else, and then just to find out that something is locally available in the store. So we are human beings to simplify things, not to make them more complex. For now, I'm ignoring it, personally. Let us get there first. Yeah. We can have this kind of a challenge then. US market is almost the same as EU. It's just our decision that we go here and we scale to US, maybe, who knows. Grok is the one to include if you are to US market. So we were including Grok in custom audits delivered to enterprise customers, trying to find out what is the visibility in Grok, in Gemini, in OpenAI, of course, etc. And it's totally different. So, of course, Grok is very influenced model by Elon Musk and his team. But still, it's very valid for US market. You also need to include it into your strategy if you are going mass market for US. DeepSeek, I have personally just tried it out for some experiments, but not doing nothing with this. And we don't have it on the roadmap yet also on the platform. You can manipulate a lot. That's true. That's true. It's about making decision of what kind of content or substance is in the content. So if you include your personal case substance, like this is the case study with this ROI we delivered to this and this customer on this market, then this data can be manipulated, can be fabricated, of course, and then it's about validation, because if human being from any country will just follow the recommendation without making sanity checks, if it's true or not, okay. That's what usually happens with the buying multiple products and reading through this small text right here, what it is about. It's manipulation. So you can treat marketing many ways. One of groups of marketers treat it as a manipulation tool or tool of influence on others. Another treat it as informational tool, right? To deliver you data for decision making. So it's up to you. All right. Thank you. A perfect audience. So many questions. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah.